I am a big fan of game demos. I found many awesome games through them that I would not have played otherwise, so whenever an event like the Steam Next Festival happens, I enjoy digging through them and finding some of the hidden gems, so I thought I would share my favorite ones. I am going to call games roguelike that are not specifically trying to imitate the original Rogue, and my definition of this is pretty simple. If it has power progression between runs, like getting higher damage or more health, it's a roguelite. If it doesn't, it's a roguelike. And the first game is SpellRogue, a roguelike deck builder. And I know, I can hear you roll your eyes. It is about as generic of a title as you could think of, and looking at the Steam page, it just looks like the 100 other mediocre deck builders trying to emulate the success of Slay the Spire, and I was about to skip it, but then my eyes got caught by the developers saying, blah blah blah, if you're into mechanically solid roguelikes, check our game out. And something about the words mechanically solid just spoke to me on a deep gamer level, and I couldn't resist. SpellRogue's combat is dice based, so instead of getting the same amount of mana every turn and spending it on randomly drawn cards, you get the same spells every turn, but the mana, meaning your dice values, are random. This generally means that your decks will be super consistent, and it's more about how well you can scale your extremely powerful synergies. And SpellRogue does this really well. In the 4 runs I played, my decks were very different, but all satisfyingly powerful. One of the best parts of this game are the animations. Not necessarily how they look, although they look great, but how they flow. In a lot of these games, you have to turn on the 3x speed mode after the first 10 minutes, because the animations just take too long, and God forbid, sometimes this 3x speed mode doesn't even exist. But here it's clear it's something they thought of, and it just plays very well. Overall, the game reminded me a lot of Monster Train, in that it is not afraid to take heavy inspirations from the best games in the genre, while doing just enough different to make it a fresh, fun experience. So I'm glad I gave this demo a try. Against the Great Darkness is what happens when you combine Space Invaders and Breakout into a bullet hell roguelite. You are ascending through hell, and to slay the demonic hordes, you need to juggle discs while avoiding projectiles. And this is a lot harder than it looks, especially because it is difficult to stop yourself from moving into the projectiles because you don't want to drop a disc. They eventually respawn, but the downside is that you get powerful abilities when you combo juggle the discs a certain amount of times, and dropping just a single one resets the entire combo. There are 3 classes in the demo. One is purely focused on the discs, and the other 2 also have a weapon that you can kill enemies with, and during the runs you then find relics which give you different powers. It's all fairly simple, but very fun, and I found it pretty challenging. It took me like 5 or 6 runs to beat the demo. The presentation is also excellent. Against Great Darkness sounds satisfying, and most importantly has great contrast and visual clarity, even when there are a lot of things on the screen. So this game has really positively surprised me. The next game is Lorn's Lure, and it's not really connected to the Next Fest at all. The demo came out in 2022, but I think it fits into this video format. It is about a robot who followed a weird glitch anomaly into a pipe and then got lost for the next 253 years in an underground, concrete, brutalist megastructure. I really like this as a premise. It was immediately intriguing to me. When the demo starts, there is a very annoying tutorial where it stops you every 2 seconds to tell you that you can use WASD to move and space to jump, and I highly recommend turning it off because it's pretty intuitive, but more importantly, Lorn's Lure's strongest point is its immersion and atmosphere, and the pop-ups are extremely disruptive to it. It is also a platformer, and I generally really don't enjoy platformers, but this one is different. it is a lonely experience. You are very small, completely lost in this endless concrete hellscape, desperately trying to find this weird, glitched ghost that led you here. There is cold wind blowing through somewhere up above, and at times it almost looks as if the megastructure itself was breathing. It's just an insanely well-crafted atmosphere. Unfortunately, the more I talk about it and the more I show you, the more I am taking away from your experience of it if you decide to try it out, so I'm going to stop here. As a last point, there was originally a different, bigger demo that I played back in like 2021, and it absolutely blew my mind. It was such a unique, memorable experience. And while this demo is shorter and much more streamlined, because of what I think is an attempt to make it more accessible, which unfortunately made it lose a bit of its magic, it's still definitely worth trying out. The good news is that based on the recent blogs, the developer is well aware of some of these shortcomings, so this is genuinely my most anticipated game right now. The last demo I'll recommend is Balatro. It's a poker roguelike, and this one I am the most sure will end up good out of the games I've shown. It is simply an excellent concept with pretty much flawless execution. It oozes style in both graphics and audio, and it is super polished. It plays like this. You have a deck of regular cards, and you have to beat increasingly higher blinds, which just means scores. Between each blind, you get to visit the shop and spend your earnings on becoming stronger, which is primarily done through jokers, which give you powerful passive boosts, but usually only under some specific condition. So for example, in my run, I had a rare joker that could copy another joker, and a joker that gave me a bonus multiplier on hands with the Fibonacci sequence numbers, and this combo carried me through the early game. Then I also found a joker that slowly increased its multiplier as long as I never played any face cards, so king, queen or jack, and this eventually became my win condition later on. The variety in builds comes from the jokers and which poker hands you focus on. For example, you can go for straights or flushes and manipulate your deck to get them more often, and it's just really fun. You don't need to be a poker expert, even if you don't know the rules, it's all explained in game, but the demo is actually fairly difficult. If you make suboptimal choices, you can very easily lose, and I enjoyed that. Those are my favorite demos I've played recently, so I hope you like at least one of them as much as I did. Thank you for watching.